The more you try to hold on, the faster they disappear. And the brutal part? The things you're doing to keep them close are the exact things driving them away. Today we're breaking down 5 protest behaviors. Things you do when you're scared, hurting, or desperate for connection that feel completely natural to you, but to an avoidant nervous system feel like a 5-alarm fire. And I'm going to be honest with you. Number 3 is the one nobody wants to admit to, but almost everyone is doing it. Stay till the end, because the last 2 on this list are the ones that quietly do the most long-term damage, and most people never even realize it. Before we get into the list, let's quickly cover what's actually happening inside an avoidant partner's brain. Because without this piece, nothing else on this list will make sense. People with avoidant attachment didn't choose this. Their nervous system was shaped early, usually by caregivers who were emotionally unavailable, dismissive, or who made them feel like their needs were too much. So their brain built a very effective but very painful defense system. Closeness equals danger. Distance equals safety. According to attachment theory researcher Dr. John Bowlby, when this system gets activated, it doesn't respond to logic. It responds to perceived threat. And perceived threat for an avoidant is often just someone needing them. So when you're anxious, scared of losing them, and you reach for connection, which is completely human and completely understandable, their nervous system can read it as a threat. That's when protest behaviors start doing real damage. Let's go through all 5. Protest behavior number 1, the constant contact loop. You send a text. They don't respond. So you send another one. Then a longer one. Then a, "Hey, are you mad at me?" Then maybe a voice note, just to explain yourself a little more. And somewhere in there, you're also checking if they've opened your message, watching their last scene, refreshing their story views. To you, this feels like reaching for connection. It feels like trying to fix something before it breaks. To an avoidant nervous system, every single notification is pressure. Researchers call this a deactivating strategy. Avoidants, when they feel emotionally cornered or overwhelmed, don't lean in. They shut down and pull back. Research by Simpson and Rolls on adult attachment and stress has consistently shown that avoidants become more withdrawn under relational pressure, not less. Your messages aren't being ignored because they don't care. They're being ignored because their system is going into self-protection mode. And every follow-up message adds more weight to the pile. Here's what to watch for, though. And stay with me, because this matters later. If you dial back the contact and they re-engage calmly, that's a green flag. That's someone who needed space but still values the connection. We'll come back to what that distinction means by the end of this video. Protest behavior number 2. Using goodbye as a test. Fine. Maybe we should just break up. You've probably said it. Most people in anxious-avoidant dynamics have. And it almost never comes from a place of actually wanting to end things. It comes from wanting proof. You want to see if they'll fight for you. You want them to feel the weight of what they could lose. The problem is that avoidants don't respond to that kind of pressure the way an anxious person would. An anxious person hears, "I'm leaving," and chases. An avoidant hears, "I'm leaving," and prepares. Their nervous system doesn't panic. It begins to detach. They start mentally rehearsing the breakup. They begin convincing themselves it was probably never going to work anyway. Research published in Attachment and Human Development shows that avoidants respond to perceived rejection cues not with pursuit, but with preemptive emotional withdrawal. Some people also try the blocking and unblocking move, or the sudden radio silence, hoping it sparks a chase. Same result. Their nervous system interprets that as confirmation that the relationship is unstable. And instability, for an avoidant, is a reason to exit, not a reason to fight harder. If you're genuinely considering leaving, that is an entirely different and valid conversation. But if you're doing it as a test, you're giving them a dress rehearsal for the breakup you don't actually want. Protest behavior number 3. Circling the same conversation until it breaks you both. This is the one. And I say that because it's the most well-intentioned one on this list, which makes it the hardest to recognize in yourself. You're not trying to be overwhelming. You genuinely want to be understood. You want resolution. You want them to finally get why this hurt you. So you bring it up again. You re-explain it from a different angle. You try once more to get them to meet you emotionally in this place you've been waiting for them. Here's what's happening on their end. Many avoidants are actually deeply sensitive people internally. Research by Mikulincer and Shaver on avoidant attachment shows that avoidants are not emotionless. They often have significant internal emotional reactions, but their nervous system has learned to suppress the outward expression of those feelings. So they are feeling the conversation. They're just feeling too much of it. Prolonged emotional intensity, especially when they already feel inadequate, guilty, or unable to give you what you need, overwhelms their nervous system. And at a certain point, they stop processing the content of what you're saying. The only thing they can register is, I cannot escape this. And that feeling, that trapped feeling, is one of the most activating experiences for an avoidant attachment system. You end up with a partner who has emotionally left the building, while still sitting across from you. If this one hit differently for you, if you thought of a specific conversation while reading this, I'd genuinely love to know what that pattern looked like for you. Drop it in the comments. Protest behavior number 4. Watching their every move for signs. This one is quieter than the others. It doesn't look like a big dramatic moment. It looks like you noticing exactly how long they took to reply. It looks like you reading into the fact that they posted a story that didn't answer your text. It looks like getting hurt when they want a night alone with friends, because part of you translates "I want space" into "I don't want you." Avoidants have an exceptionally strong need for autonomy. This isn't selfishness, it's wiring. Their sense of safety is directly tied to their sense of independence. When they feel monitored, even if you never say a word about it, they feel it. It shows up in the energy of the relationship. It shows up in how tense things get when they do something for themselves. And the painful irony is that the more you struggle with their independence, the more they associate being in the relationship with losing their freedom, which means the relationship itself starts feeling like a cage. And people don't stay in cages willingly. This one is hard to work through alone. A lot of the monitoring behavior is rooted in anxiety that existed before this relationship, and it gets amplified by an avoidant partner's natural tendency to pull back. It's a cycle that typically needs real support, therapy, inner work, building a life that isn't centered entirely on one person, to actually break. Protest behavior number 5. Putting your emotional stability in their hands. I just can't be okay until I hear from you. When you pull away like this, I completely fall apart. If you could just reassure me, I would stop feeling this way. This one is the most painful to talk about because it comes from a real place of love and attachment. You're not being manipulative. You're genuinely dysregulated, genuinely scared, genuinely reaching for the one person who feels like home to you. But here's what it creates on their end. Many avoidants, particularly dismissive avoidants, have a deep-rooted fear of being responsible for someone else's emotional world. In a lot of cases, this goes back to childhood experiences where they were made responsible for a caregiver's emotions. It was too much then. It rewired them. So when someone they love says, "You are the only thing standing between me and complete emotional collapse," even if that's not the exact wording, their nervous system hears an echo of something old and overwhelming. Connection starts feeling like a weight. And they don't pull away because they don't care. They pull away because caring feels like drowning. Here is the hard truth. Your emotional regulation cannot live inside another person, especially not a person who is already struggling to manage their own. That's not a relationship. That's an emotional dependency. And they feel it, even when you don't say it out loud. Building your own inner stability through therapy, through your friendships, through your own identity outside of this relationship is not a betrayal of the love you have for them. It's the only way to make that love sustainable. Here's something I want you to sit with for a moment, because I think it's the most important thing in this entire video. Stopping these behaviors is absolutely the right thing to do. Not because it will fix them or finally make them choose you, but because you deserve to not be in a cycle that is slowly hollowing you out. But here's the distinction that matters. An avoidant partner who is capable of growth will respond to your growth. Not immediately, not perfectly, but over time, there will be movement. There will be moments of effort, of showing up, of slowly letting you in. If you do this work, if you stop the protest behaviors, build your own emotional world, communicate clearly and calmly, and the response is still consistent withdrawal, dismissiveness, and a relationship where your needs are treated like inconveniences, that is not a you problem anymore. That is information about their capacity right now. Not every avoidant is in a place to do the work. Attachment theory doesn't promise that. What it does say is that secure, loving connection is possible, with the right person, at the right time, when both people are willing. You came into this video because something in those first few seconds felt true. And if you saw yourself in even 2 or 3 of these 5 behaviors, that is not a reason to feel ashamed. It is a reason to feel hopeful. Because you cannot change what you cannot see. And now you can see it. Stop the contact floods. Drop the goodbye tests. Don't let conversations become marathons. Give them their autonomy without making it mean something about your worth. And build an emotional life that belongs to you, not one that's rented from them. The shift doesn't happen overnight, but it starts today with this. If this gave you real clarity, send it to someone you know who's caught in this same loop. They might need it more than you know. If you found value in this video, don't forget to like and subscribe.